Now, joining us to discuss this issues from the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting is Dr. David Matsanga, an African Affairs Analyst. Good evening and thanks for joining us, Dr. Matsanga.
Good evening, Gbenga. Good evening, my dear brother. I was on another space, which is always on Friday, which you always attend.
Oh, yes.
I was there, that's why I delayed. They wanted to answer a few questions. But
we're happy to have you.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Matsanga, what are your expectations from this Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting as a Commonwealth, as it kicks off in Rwanda? The deliberations kicked off today. What are your expectations after this sessions?
First of all, Commonwealth is one of the few organizations. I just want to take this opportunity to thank the people of Africa and the people of those African countries that have stuck into the Commonwealth, because the Commonwealth has built a foundation across the world. The Commonwealth, the British Empire, after their departure from these colonies, did not forget us. The British Empire, after departure from some of the colonies, like a place where I'm born, they never forgot us. They kept us. They kept us together. And it is coming out that is one of the most organized, forum which has consensus. There is no, why the Commonwealth has stuck together is there is no voting. And I understand, I want other people in the world to know there is no voting in the Commonwealth. They don't vote. They use consensus politics. They agree on something and that is it. Now, it is very important for any African who is in the Commonwealth and for anyone who has benefited from the Commonwealth, like myself. I never got a scholarship, but I have benefited because I'm from the Commonwealth. I speak English. That's one. I am in the Commonwealth. I've gone to the British.
Dr. Matsanga, talking about the benefits of the Commonwealth, this year's meeting is holding in Africa 15 years after after Africa hosted the last Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. So let's look at Africa and its 19 countries and the Commonwealth. How exactly has this organization been beneficial to them?
Are you not one of them? You are from Nigeria and you are a beneficiary. You have the British Council. Are you not going? Some people from Nigeria have got scholarships to study in Britain on the British Council. There is aid that comes in. There is funding for Commonwealth projects. But that aside, of course, it has its own side, which is not very, some of the things are not very good. They watch while democracy is being mutilated in one area, and then the other one they don't speak about it, then they jump. That is one of some of the negatives. But on overall, the Commonwealth has stood as it is. It is like the same empire back in the monarchy in Britain. It is one of the few countries, Britain, give it a credit, is one of the few countries in the world that can give people like Dr. Matsanga to have space to speak, to be able to go to school and read and compete and get papers and speak like them. That's a very good sign of the Commonwealth. And we shouldn't break this relationship so easily. The only problem where I had problems with the Commonwealth is the expulsion of Zimbabwe, of not engaging Zimbabwe when Zimbabwe needed them most. Yes. So most of the people in Africa look at the Commonwealth from the point of sanctions that were put on Zimbabwe. And I believe now time, as the 54 countries are seated in Rwanda, they should think of trying to bring back Zimbabwe to the fold. That is where most Africans started doubting what the Commonwealth has done. There are so many countries in Africa whose elections are not very good. There are so many countries in Africa where democracy is not exercised. Some of them are seated there. In Rwanda today, in Kigali, some people, you can't even speak on radio, on TV like now. I'm speaking from Mombasa in Kenya. There are some leaders seated on that table with John Bolton, who should not even actually talk about the word democracy. So when Boris Johnson is looking for people who make people live and go to the upper north, to the metros, he should ask those leaders. I'm being honest. You want me to be honest here?
They should be truthful. And talking about being candid and truthful, one issue that stands out when anybody mentions Rwanda is the issue of Rwanda's human rights records, which is not exactly in tandem with the guiding principles of the Commonwealth, which talks about promotion of democracy, human rights, and freedom. So my question to you, Dr. Matsanga, is how significant are those issues, and do you expect it to play up in any way in the course of this summit, or will they wouldn't want to ruffle President Paul Kagame's feathers and just, for nicety's sake and diplomatic sake, not talk about it?
As I've told you, Commonwealth always washes some of the things under the carpet. They are not going to come and harass Kagame about the record of how he got in an election, 99.9%. Gbenga, you know that very well. They are not going to say it today in Kigali because the man could turn off the water and the convention could have no water. But they have a way. I have been in Britain for 37 years, and I've lived and I still live in Britain. I thank Her Majesty, the Queen, for having housed me for 37 years, because I needed, at that time, I needed that shoulder to lie on. And I'm not going to sit here and condemn Her Majesty's decisions and the government. I will support them. But where they have gone wrong, like where Tony Blair went wrong and dismembered Zimbabwe, I stood up and spoke, and I even lost my job that I was going to be given by Robin Cook. I was going to be a member of parliament for Croydon Central, which would be, I would be the first direct African in the House of Commons. But I said, no, I cannot come here and allow you to go and isolate an African country, put it on the hooks, put on the people how many people have died of diseases that are manageable. So the record that you are talking about is correct. Why don't we condemn some of the excesses of democracy? The Prime Minister Boris Johnson of Conservative Party is today in Rwanda. How many Rwandese refugees?
Dr. Matsanga, before I let you go, one of the excuses, especially when you talk to Western diplomats, is that Rwanda is in a very volatile region and they've gone through a very tumultuous past. So if you have a strong man that is keeping all these various ethnic groups and a semblance of peace, then you can turn the other way and excuse his excesses. Is that a valid argument?
First of all, His Excellency President Kagame is my friend, because he has been in Uganda. He grew up in Uganda. Some of us interacted with him. I don't have a problem as far as he's concerned, unless he has a problem with me. But I don't have a problem. But the truth is this. When you talk about excesses and then you bring in sympathy, it is true that in 1994, people lost lives. And we still have hallmarks of how many people went down. The Tutsi were killed by extremist Hutu who killed them in millions. That is true. You can't rub out history. But just as Germany today can be reminded of what Hitler did, but time comes when we have to move on. Rwanda has moved on. And Rwanda has done what we call the Kachacha court, which has united people. A redemption strategy has come back in Rwanda. That one, I give Kagame a tick. He has done very well to unite this nation, to progress, to give discipline. But time comes that just as if you read Emperor Nero If
In
you
Rome.
look at Emperor Nero, the history of Emperor Nero, who liked Christians. When the mother came and said, the Christians, these people pray but looking up. These others who come here tell you, overseers, tell you that the stars are here. But these ones pray, but you don't see. So Emperor Nero ordered all Christians to come and removed the overseers. So the situation in Rwanda is like that it could end up that Emperor Nero, when they said, fire, fire in the heaven, Emperor Nero ordered for Rome to burn the entire Rome. Read the story of Emperor Nero. So Kagame has done very well, my brother. But there are certain excesses that we need to check. Yes.
Thank you very much.
We can't wholesomely condemn him because he took a country from the smallest, the pit hole up to today. But he has brought it, he's put it up, but we are not going to rely on this sympathy all the time while you are also squeezing other people.
True.
No, that should not be there more. We should look at a pragmatic way of all Rwandese staying together. There is no opposition leader in Rwanda. At least in Uganda, my country, there is opposition leader.
We've fast run out of time. I wish we could go on. Thank you very much, Dr. David Matsanga, African Affairs Analyst. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.